Look, we're on the verge of you signing a major agreement with the DRC, with President Trump, that people are calling a historic agreement. What makes this agreement so important from Rwanda's perspective?
Well, the story about the conflict goes a long way, many years, and we have never had anything like this where there is focus, there is attention to this level, where the two leaders of the two countries, Rwanda and DRC, have come to meet with the President of the United States, who has paid attention to this program, and the amount of visibility, energy, maybe pressure, and to resolve this problem has never been like this before. And then the basis on which it is being addressed is also interesting. It really touches elements that are fundamental if one wants to address this conflict, starting with understanding the root cause, but also building on the three elements they brought up, which is political, security, economic. I think it captures everything, at least in terms of the theory. What remains is the practice or the implementation part of it. That's where always the complications arise from.
What is different about this moment with President Trump's involvement in this administration?
Well, I should say, there are two different situations where the narrative is about being connected with the problems of Africa, then putting that in the general framework of what we know is the global order, or what we have known for quite some time, then theories about all kinds of things, democracy, freedom, this, and human rights, and so on and so forth. But for many years, we have seen that these have remained just stories and theories, but in practice, you don't see that translate into improvements of many countries or people's lives, say, on our continent. Then you have the other, which focuses on some tangible things, if it is trade, different economic interests, how they translate into improvements of people's lives, and focusing on the real things. And, well, as people have said, looking at the transactional nature of what do you give, what do you gain, what are the results, that makes it easy to measure what you are getting out of any engagement. I think, in my personal opinion and experience from our own situation, Rwanda's or the regions, I prefer the latter. I find there are things you get out of that, but the other ones is just, in fact, sometimes the first one I mentioned, sometimes to just increases problems that have to be managed, and managing those problems becomes an industry in itself that keeps going forever. But when you look at what is happening on the ground, or if you were to ask people and their experiences, and they will tell you their situation has not, their lives have not changed. If anything, maybe they got worse. So I don't want to go too much into this because I understand also that the main responsibility is with us. We must be the ones there to make whatever opportunity available work for us, or even absence of opportunity. Still, we've got to find a way of doing what is meaningful to us. So I always don't want to put the blame on others. Maybe they carry the blame, sometimes a lot of it. But this blame is probably also invited by our absence in dealing with our affairs, in carrying our responsibilities the way we should. So absent all that, I think I don't want to blame anybody.
Has President Trump now gotten into Africa? Is he into turning this situation both into economic gains for the U.S., but also, a peace notch for him?
Well, if this is anything to act as an example, I think that is the case. The very fact that President Trump found time and got interested and invited us and other leaders who will be witnessing this and who have been involved in the processes before, I think one can give credit for that. Many other issues that are talked about or raised by different people, whether they have their merits or not, I want to focus on areas where I think we can have progress and that can address the outstanding problems that we face today.
Another key player, Mr. President, has been Qatar. And around this, there have been two processes, two tracks, if you will. And my understanding is the United States has been dealing with the nation-to-nation, bilateral issues, and Qatar has been helping a lot on internal issues. Can you tell us a little bit, can you give us a feel for how this works? Because it's sort of an unusual kind of simultaneous dance.
So, fortunately, fast forward, we were able to separate this. The internal dialogue matters went to Qatar, and that came following my meeting with President Tshisekedi in Doha, by the way, on his own request. Even with the US, it was his own request. And in fact, the other African leaders and countries were blaming Rwanda, thinking that we are the ones who left the African processes, initiatives, and went to Qatar or came here to Washington. But it was the very man, Tshisekedi, DRC, who actually initiated that. But the hope for him was he would be able to manipulate either the process in Qatar or the process in Washington, D.C. in his favor, because he thinks DRC is too great, too big, that the whole world is interested in having a portion of what they possess, and that he would go paying his way and manipulating people to get the results he wanted. So, but when it came to us, and we were invited to participate either in Doha and here in Washington, we always came forward, but we told people what we thought were the facts, and the fundamental issues that must be addressed if we are to look at the root causes. So that's how we ended up having FCM 23 in Doha, talking to government, and in here it was DRC talking to Rwanda, but also in a regional framework. That's why there will be these leaders who have been invited to witness this. So what DRC all along thought they were going to manipulate ended up, as a matter of fact, being separated so that we don't miss out anything that was important. So Doha, very important. Qatar has been near the forefront in trying to bring conflicting parties together, not only in our region, but you are aware of many other places where they have played a very important role. And they are continuing to do so. They are available, they have resources to put to that, and want really peace. So we are happy that these things have been moving forward.
So just real quick, I'm just interested in what your gut feeling is. On one hand, you're going to sign an agreement with President Trump, President Tshisekedi, that is about the national issues. And do you trust Tshisekedi's ability to actually control that section of all the currents going on in Eastern DRC?
Well, first things first. I think that we are here and are agreeing to sign an agreement to deal with the matters. That is very important, and it is the first step to be taken. And some agreements have been reached in Doha as well, in Qatar. That's very important. So that means we are now trying to move the next steps and move forward. That's where, of course, the devil is in these details. But we'll face all of that as we move forward. But as I said, first things first. And that one, we are here, we are going to discuss, we're going to sign an agreement. I hope that both Qatar and the United States will continue to accompany this process and see what is happening for what it is. And I'm sure if they find Rwanda is to blame for anything, they voice it, they come to us, they say, should we be doing this, and this is not what we agreed. And hoping the same will happen to DRC, because we have had experiences where DRC has been reaching an agreement with different parties, including ourselves, and the next day after agreeing, they are saying the opposite. And it has happened not once, not twice, not 3 times, but more. So we know we have to face this. We know that is likely to happen. But it shouldn't divert us from the actual direction that is on a good start, and that we have to move forward. So we keep step by step seeing what we need to do.
Mr. President, the new great race in Washington is the race with China. Concern about dependencies, worry about critical materials, worries about national security and economics. And I know that a big part of your evolving relationship with the United States are critical material sales. You produce tungsten, tin, other key materials. How are you fitting in, if you are, into that equation of the Trump administration's interest in competing in a lot of this, this footprint around critical materials and other issues in trade?
Well, I'll not talk much about the competition that is going on across the world. It's too much for me to carry on my shoulders. I just I can make an analysis for you and move on, but I won't waste my time on that. I want to concentrate on this problem we have in our region that involves all countries in our region, but particularly Rwanda and the DRC. You know, people have falsely believed that everything that DRC is known to have is only in the DRC, nowhere else. So if you talked about minerals in Rwanda, and they do exist, people would just say, no, this is not Rwanda's, it is from DRC. Like you have said, whether tungsten, tin, tantalum, it's all of these exist in Rwanda. In fact, of super quality, much better than you would find in other places, like tungsten. I think we are now number 4, I'm told, in the world, if not first in Africa. We produce that. And this came to our knowledge for quite some time. We have had a company that is US-based, Trinity Metals, that actually made the findings and has invested over a long time and has been mining and always improving on how much they can process within the country and so on and so forth. So this has now come out clearly that whatever we have in this area has nothing to do with the DRC. It is Rwanda's. Even other areas, we have beryllium, we have other critical minerals, lithium, and so on and so forth. These are essentially critical minerals, and have some gold. Maybe Congo, DRC, has more gold than we do, but we have gold. So it can't be seen that every gold we
the price is high right now.
yes, that every gold we export is coming from DRC. But if anything, the neighboring countries, the other neighboring countries to DRC, actually from DRC through those countries, there is much, much bigger volume than anything that goes through Rwanda. But Rwanda is always picked on, and that relates to this conflict and other problems we have had in history. Just trying to play a blame game against Rwanda and then cover up everything else that goes on under that, like even support for FDLR and many things that happen. But this includes some international players. When we are talking about this, we don't just mean Burundi, Uganda, or whatever, no. We mean these big countries in the Western Hemisphere. They are part of that. And the way they play the game of covering up for FDLR and the tragedy that happened in Rwanda and try to apportion, responsibility elsewhere is staggering. You can't understand why that would happen. And then this translates also then in the blame game around minerals or lack of stability in our region. But if you look at also the whole region, we have protected our country, we have continued to grow it and made sure that we are not part of the instability or the source of it, because you can't do that at the same time you want to create a better environment for yourself. So, but people keep dragging us into this for their own reasons I don't understand.
President Trump has defined himself as a person trying to achieve peace in a lot of different conflicts. Do you think that President Trump, that you, President Tshisekedi, should be given some consideration by the Nobel Peace Prize Committee?
No. Well, others could be considered, not myself. I don't think I'm there yet.
How about President Trump?
I don't think I'm there or there yet, so I reserve it for, but why not? President Trump, given what he has done in a short time and trying to stabilize things, the effort he has here put into it, knowing that some of these things, by the way, you wouldn't find answers to these complex problems as an individual. Even powerful as the United States is and the President of the United States, you cannot deliver results alone. So that's why some of the things, the failures arising out of them, that's why I said we are the ones to blame. If there is a conflict between Rwanda and the DRC and somebody is trying to help and we don't find a solution to that, I don't think you blame the one who was trying to help.
Do you have a good vibe with President Trump?
I think I would, even the first time, his first term and this time around, I think, I like people for wanting to have results and making, but there are many people in this world who say nice things and end up with nothing and have made it a habit for so many years. But the people you might blame for this or that, sometimes they are practical in getting the results, and like in this case, we stand a much bigger chance to have good results of resolving the problems in our region and between the DRC and Rwanda than I have known before, because before there was too much talking about and blame game, played around for too long, but ending up with nothing. President Trump has taken it up, and hopefully, we can only be hopeful that, but he shows good intention, he wants to try, so we should support this to succeed, knowing that he's not the one to deliver the good results 100%, while those of us who are party to this are sitting back and not doing our part.
Well, President Kagame, thank you so much for talking to Al Jazeera.
It's a pleasure.
This is the journey to One Africa.